Hello, and welcome to Augmented Teachings, where we talk about things that inspire us to think better, feel better, and in turn be better. My name is Brandi, and it's a pleasure to host this show today. And now I'd like to introduce my co-host, Todd Michael Jackson.
Hi, how you doing?
Great. I'm so glad that we're doing this show today.
I know. So much fun.
Yeah. So Todd is the creator of Augmented Teachings and also the author of God is Greater Than Religion. Todd, tell us a little bit about your journey and what brought you here.
Well, I was having a spiritual awakening, and I asked Source to give me the understandings that I needed to where I can make sense of spirituality and the inner workings of why things are the way they are. And in this show, we come to learn to overcome judgment one soul at a time. Mm-hmm. And I'm here to do that today.
Great. I'm glad we're doing this. And now let's welcome our special guest today, Patrice Copeland. Patrice is the current president of the High Desert Progressive Democrats. And welcome, Patrice. We're so glad that you're joining us today here on our show.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Great. Briefly tell us a little bit about yourself and what brought you here today.
Well, I'm a veteran. I took the oath of office as a veteran, and I worked for the state of California for 23 years, in which I also took the oath and had the pleasure of administering the oath of office to all of the employees that I was able to hire. I take that oath seriously to protect our Constitution and our country against all enemies, foreign and domestic. Right now, I think we're kind of under attack by both.
Right.
Musk, who's foreign, and Trump, who's domestic. So I am in it for the fight. Because I care about my country, I care about the people, I want to reduce suffering, not increase it. Mm-hmm. And so far, what I've seen of the Musk, Trump, and Vance regime, they're in it to make as much suffering and cruelty and enact his revenge on the unsuspecting American public.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, the topic of today's episode is augmenting the progressive movement. So let's go ahead and dive into that.
Sure. So, Patrice, you have any questions for me?
I do.
All right.
How does a person who considers themselves a devout Christian or religious support a president who demonstratively lacks compassion and empathy?
Right. So I get this question a lot. So sometimes people will watch, a Trump rally, and he'll be monstrous towards others, and they'll applaud it. And then some will watch the same speech and be appalled by it. It all determines on the age of the soul. So we have two purposes of life. The first purpose is to work the puzzle of unconditional love. And a soul will choose to return again and again and again through reincarnation until it does, because God deserves the best version of ourselves, best version of our soul, the brightest we can be. Second purpose of life is to bring back experiences. God can only create. God cannot experience. We are here to experience. So, getting back to the first purpose of life, when a soul has only been here a few times, it does not have the tools to overcome the deficiencies of the vessel: fear, judgment, greed, ego, hate, violence. So, when another person says it, they will gravitate towards it. Soul's been here more times. They've learned the tools to put down those negative feelings and learn to lead with the soul, which is based in love, because the soul is a direct manifestation of God. And then you have a soul that's been here many times, and now they've learned to put all those fears and all those judgments way back behind them, and they don't hear it anymore, and they're leading with love. As I tell people, the more progressive a human is, the more tools that soul had to be progressive, to learn love over guns, learn love over a flag, learn love over a cross. Love always. And that is one of the spiritual truths, correct? Right. So as our souls age, we become more aligned with love, and younger souls are still aligned with what they read in a scripture, and they'll take the worst parts of it and then apply that to their lives and and the people around them. While older souls will see the same scriptures and take the ones of love and compassion and make that the centerpiece of their lives.
Interesting. I like that.
Thank you.
Well, we believe that our thoughts and our actions create our reality. And so if we have that belief system of division and hate and anger and greed and all of that, we're going to create more of that for ourselves and the world that we live in.
Yes.
So
yeah, our souls gravitate to what they know and what they're able to accomplish. So like I said, younger souls just tend to gravitate towards fear and judgment, and older souls gravitate towards love and acceptance.
I have another question.
All right, go ahead.
Do the typical evangelical Christians that support the Musk, Trump, and Vance regime, do you think that they're part of the reason that they're doing this, their rationale, is to bring on the rapture?
Bring on the rapture.
Yeah. Are they trying to end the world prematurely by destroying it first?
Intentionally or unintentionally?
The funny part is that there's no free lunches here. So a lot of people think that if the rapture happens, I don't have to deal with my BS job anymore. I don't have to deal with taxes anymore. I don't have to deal with the relationships I'm not happy with. And they're praying for this rapture to happen. No, we come here to learn. This is one of God's best classrooms for learning and experiencing. God isn't going to end the world or pull certain people out. That's a fantasy. So that we're going to keep this intact as long as possible until the sun finally engulfs the earth because it expands so much. We're going to keep coming here as long as we possibly can and using it for what it is, a classroom for learning and experiencing. God doesn't want us to leave anytime soon. God put a lot of work into this. So there's going to be a rapture where you get to go home. There's a free lunch and you just get to get away with all the BS you created for yourself. All those souls don't gravitate towards raptures. They're like, you know what? I want to learn how to love. Younger souls are like, I hate my life and I want to get out of it. And they look for the rapture as to ease their frustrations.
Right.
And that's not going to happen.
No, I can relate to that. I'm also a 20-year breast cancer survivor. And when you get touched with and get the news that you have breast cancer,
yes,
it really makes you go deep into yourself and ask why me, and have that conversation with God. And I came out of it understanding with my life. My baby sister only lasted 4 years.
Wow.
And she went home. But for me, since I'm still here, I look at it and I say, well, what else does God have for me? I've got to be here. I've got to pay it forward. What can I do to help?
Right.
And I try to comfort people, give them knowledge, and at least I can share my experiences with them and let them know you have hope.
You do have
It's been
hope.
20 years and I'm still ticking here.
Exactly.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Well, congratulations.
Yes.
Thank you for sharing.
That is so awesome. So yeah, if they want to trying to create the rapture, it's not going to happen for them. They may. I don't know the intents of all of them,
right,
but if they are, that's not going to happen. And the whole idea of it was based in instructions for an old paradigm, and that's not going to happen now. So we're moving forward, and we're learning. As I tell people, you have one group of people that are Old Testament, and then one that are new, and then we're a new paradigm now. This new paradigm, we're not going to try to find God in a book. We're actually going to put forth the effort to learn love itself. We're not going to read the DMV handbook anymore. We're actually driving now.
Right.
Right. And that's the new paradigm. That's what we're in right now.
We put into action and practice our beliefs and understandings.
Right.
We don't just think about it and know it. We actually apply that to our life and to assist others in applying that in that new understanding for themselves as well.
All right. So what else do you have for me?
What else?
Yes.
Do you believe that it would be okay to be fired from your job just because of your political beliefs? And should anyone be coerced or forced into taking an oath to support a person or a president over our Constitution and our rule of law?
That's happened before. That's happened in Germany in World War II. You did not take an oath to the country anymore. You took oath to the dictator. And when you do that, you are no longer in alignment with the people within that country. You're now in alignment with whatever this person says. Now you have a king. Now you have a dictator. That's not how democracy works. So if you have to do that and it's put upon you, I would do my best to walk away. Ask source for another avenue, because you do not want to put yourself in a situation to where you have to perform acts against other humans because you have to return back home. This country doesn't exist on the other side of the veil. The people leading this country do, but the people you hurt also do. So you have to make a decision. Am I going to take an oath for this person over here, and in return I have to hurt these people over here? You can't do it. And when you do step back and say, no, I will not do it, you've won that battle. You've overcome fear. Because that's our jobs as human beings. When we overcome fear and all its derivatives, judgment, hate, greed, right? When we overcome that, we stop coming back here. We stop because there's nothing left to learn.
Right. The
whole job is to overcome fear itself. So the sooner you learn that, the sooner you move on. So that's why I love the progressives so much. They're like, people need help. We don't care about spending the money to do it. It's okay. Well, I don't have fear. As long as we keep giving, we're okay.
If it's all in the greater good of all.
Right. I choose to help this human rather than spending money on, and the conservatives are so worried about spending money, they don't care about the human. Mm-hmm. They still have an adherence to the fear of lack. They don't have enough, or the country doesn't have enough. As long as we keep giving, we'll always be prosperous. That's the whole point. So I'm going to get off on a little tangent. I want to explain how Trump and Musk regime is screwing America. There are reasons why we're prosperous. The United States is the most prosperous country in the world. Why are we prosperous? A lot of people will say, oh, because we're Christian. Nope, that's not true at all. A majority, most Christians live in third world countries. We're prosperous because of our generosity. That's why we're prosperous. So we're generous in two different ways. We're generous with giving physically to people that come here seeking asylum from destitute situations or from violence. Coming here and seeking asylum, and God puts it upon their heart to come here, and we help them. Second way we are generous is, say somebody lives in Africa, a third world country. They can't walk here, right? They can't get here. But if Source sees or God sees, there's a group of people, manifestations of God, every one of them needs help. Well, this country that I made prosperous, I'll put it upon their heart to give to them. God works in mysterious ways. It'll find ways to get the resources necessary to keep these people alive so they continue their journey.
So maybe that'll help with Ukraine too.
Yes.
We'll find ways to get help to them.
Right.
Trump has turned both of those off. So now what is the purpose of Source to keep us prosperous? We've turned off our generosity physically. We've turned off our generosity financially. So now there's no reason for us. Source will find another avenue to get the resources to these people, and it won't be through us anymore. There's no reason to keep us prosperous anymore.
Because that flow has now been dammed. That tap has been turned off. So now God's blessings cannot flow through to reach all of humanity, because we are not our country, we are not our gender, we are not our body. We are a spiritual being having this human experience, and each of our souls are manifestations of God. We are all, some people will say we are a child of God or a product of God, a manifestation of God, but we all come from the same source and we all return to the same source. Right. So that's why we believe the more we can help everybody and love everybody unconditionally, regardless of their actions. I know that that's very challenging. It's very, very challenging to apply that unconditional love to everybody, because sometimes they're actions. But again, we look at, the actions of a 2-year-old. Are we going to hate that 2-year-old because they're having a tantrum and they're kicking and screaming and stealing Billy's lollipop? No, we're not going to hate that child. It's easier to find that love and compassion. Oh, that 2-year-old is learning. They're developing. They're growing. Well, when we can apply that to the developmental process of the soul, because we do believe in reincarnation and that the soul comes back to develop itself through firsthand knowledge of experience. And so how can we apply that? Because we talk about love only.
Right. So as I explained before, Trump and Musk, they're not bad souls. They're beneficiaries of God, just like we are. But they're very young souls. Right. They still live in that fear, judgment, greed, and ego. What they don't realize is that after they've done all they've done here, right, they're going to think that when they turn back home, they're going to still have that status. No, they're not going to have any status.
We don't take that. That's from the ego. Right. That's from the human self. We don't take that back to
They might
heaven.
actually realize their gardeners shine brighter on the other side of the veil than they did. They came here to have a driving test. Because really, realistically, in between incarnations, we spend tens or hundreds of thousands of years in between incarnations. Here, it's only 4 to 6 months. On the other side of the veil, it's much, much, much longer. They're going to realize that during this little 80-year driving test or whatever long they're here, they hit every single cone, hit every curb, and banged into every single car. And when they get back home, they're like, oh my gosh, I'm going to take that test again. But I'm going to have to do it different. I'm going to have to study. I'm going to have to practice. I'm going to have to learn. And one of the things we don't realize is that every time we come here, when we have an experience, it's saved forever. We learn from each other. Mm-hmm. So say you have a person that spent the first 30 years of their life stealing, and then they finally learned not to. They were given an opportunity and didn't do it. That is shown in classroom settings because every experience is forever. So they can show where they stole, and didn't. And we learn what that person went through to learn to overcome stealing.
By example.
On
the soul level.
So we have classrooms on the other side of the veil, and we have this grandiose classroom right here where we learn much faster.
Because we're all in it. We're all on this playground of life together.
And the crazy thing is we have second graders, fifth graders, and 10th graders all playing the same playground. We just can't tell by the outside which is which.
So unfortunately, it seems to be that the people in leadership and power at the moment are
the second graders.
The second graders.
The second graders are running the playground right now.
And so we've been talking recently about like Lord of the Flies.
Yes.
And the whole story and the construct around that story, the book, whatever.
You have the group of kids, and they're all bullies, right? You have a group of kids on an island. And they break into two factions. One is bullies, fear, judgment, ego, power. And then there's of love and acceptance. And they start picking off those kids one by one until the adults show up. And they're like, oh, then they come back. They snap back to reality. They're like, oh my God, what was I doing? So right now, there are people put on this planet to help society snap back, to snap back into reality. The second grader should not be running the classroom. And the 7th grader should be learning from the 10th grader. But that's the problem is that with the way right-wing media is right now, they have corralled all these 2nd graders. And they just keep degenerating down. De-evolving. And actually demonizing the old souls. No, they're communists, they're socialists, they don't like you, they're hate, they're whatever.
Creating more
division. No, that's not the way. You're supposed to be learning from them. Just as a 3-year-old learns from an 8-year-old, 7th grader is supposed to be learning from the 10th. Now, the 10th grader can't de-evolve to a 2nd grader. It just can't. You can't unlearn algebra. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But the 2nd grader does not know what the 10th grader does. It's math. Those are letters aren't supposed to be in math. Right? So that's the world we're living in right now. I can understand them, but they are going to have a hard time understanding us. There's going to be a lot of pushback. And it's our job. It's our job. It's the 10th grader's job to fix this.
Well, if I can ask another question. Yeah. Again, as on the basis of being a veteran, Trump got Pete and nominated Pete Hegseth and got him in power as our Secretary of Defense. I'm concerned that one of the reasons that they did this was to violate our Constitution and use American troops to control on the streets of America, to control Americans who disagree with them. Yes. As a veteran, I know that there is the UCMJ, Unified Code of Military Justice, that basically says you're held responsible if somebody gives you an illegal order and you carry it out, you're held responsible for that. Right.
I think realistically, Trump isn't going to be here forever. You know what I'm saying? Natural causes are going to take over eventually. And all these people that did his work.
I don't want to wait that long.
I know. It might be sooner than you think. Who knows? But I digress. These people will be held accountable. Just like Trump just signed an executive order for the Supreme Court not to try cases of corruption against a politician. He's not draining the swamp. He's expanding the swamp and bringing hippos in now. Not just gators. We got hippos now. So these people will be tried eventually, and they'll be found guilty. Trump will be gone, and they'll be holding the baggage of what Trump created. Trump has pull, but the other people that are doing the bidding don't. They don't have the pull that he has. So they'll be left just overwhelmed, and they'll be serving the price that they took upon when they said yes to Trump. So we always have the option to say no. We always have the option to say no.
Everything's a choice.
Especially when you have enough money to live the rest of your life, right? I'm sure he's not poor. He doesn't need the money. I'd be like, you know what? I don't need this on my conscience. But a lot of people think, I'm doing this for religious reasons. I'm doing this for God. I'm doing this. Like, no, you're not. But that's a young soul mentality. So, no, there's going to be a lot of people holding the bag for Trump when he leaves. And they don't know it yet. But this is how we get movement. Look at, unfortunately, Germany just elected a conservative president. But still, look where Germany is now compared to where they were in the 1940s and 30s. No violence. You can't deny, the H word. You can't do any of these things because they took a total 180 and said, no, we're not allowing it. I said, they don't even allow violent video games in there. No violence. We're going to have to, as the pendulum swings one direction, the farther it swings the other direction. So as we went full right tilt, it's going to go full left tilt.
Everything balances out.
But if we do our job correctly, it'll stay there. It won't be between conservative and liberal. It'll be between liberal and progressive. That's the goal. Because our job isn't to go backwards. Our job is to move the society forward. As we move our society forward, more love and abundance comes in.
For all.
I like that.
Thank you.
I have more questions if we have more time.
Sure.
Yeah. What you got next?
Well, let me go back to this one.
Okay.
I don't know if you're familiar or have read The Shock Doctrine by Naomi Klein.
No.
Basically, it talks about how to bring about exactly what they're doing right now. It's extreme division, chaos, shock to disrupt the order of a country. But at the end, as humans, we can only absorb so much of that. Right? And then finally we say, no, no more.
No more.
And I'm hopeful that we as sentient beings can recognize this and stand up and say no and give pushback and do more protests, call your representatives, whatever we can within our means to fight against what they're putting forward as the new America.
Right. And the right-wing agenda, the right-wing media, they're very organized. They're like a well-oiled football team. So
they've had years of preparation.
Right. They have. They've been really organizing and pushing this fear, judgment, hate. But when you really look at it, this is even spiritual. I'm just going to talk numbers. 34% of this country voted for Trump. 35% voted for somebody else. 30% did not vote at all. It's that 34% is what's ruling this country right now, that 34%. But they're a hardcore 34%. We just wake up 5% of that 30% that did not vote. It's over. It's a landslide.
The High Desert Progressive Democrats, that was one of our goals, was to motivate these people to actually participate and start voting.
Right. And I think with how many groups of people Trump and Musk are hurting, just through layoffs and through making executive orders and legislation. I think that 30% didn't vote is going to wake up and be like, wait a second, I have 4 people that were affected in my family alone by his policies in a negative way.
There's a lot of secondary and tertiary effects of firing a federal worker. There are companies like my job was environmental. And I worked with the U.S. EPA as a partner with the state of California. There are lots of industries and private industries and consultant firms that work to also support the U.S. EPA, the state of California, what have you. And if you fire the workers that were doing the jobs and those jobs are not being done, then they don't need this support contract. So then it's going to affect all of those people. It's going to affect the laboratories that they were sent samples of soil or air or water. And then that's going to also affect the economy of their country. It's my belief they're trying to crash the American economy, that's one of their end goals. And then try to, once they have it all torn down, they're going to remake it as a private company would, with hiring a bunch of private companies to do what a federal worker used to do. I don't think it will amount to a savings. I think it will probably be more tax for the American public.
Yeah.
Right. And that's rough, and like I said, that's kind of where when there's no more charity, the prosperity goes away. That kind of goes hand in hand with what I was saying earlier. That is going to happen. But we have enough people here. I don't think people realize is that in other paradigms, we always had like a mixture of young souls, medium-aged souls, and older souls kind of commingling. And we're moving, slowly towards our goals of love and acceptance. But that's changing. Now more old souls are being born and medium-aged souls, and very few young souls are being born. I truly, with all the wisdom that I've gained from all my knowledge, from all my NDEs, I truly feel that Trump is not the goal. Trump was the test. Always happens in threes when it comes to source, when it comes to God. You had 3 chances to vote for or not vote for hate and division. If you did, you won't be coming back here. You'll be coming back to this planet. You won't be coming back here, because the United States will be the leader of world peace. It has to be, because we have the ties and the empowerment to be a world leader in world peace itself. But we have to move some of these younger souls out so that we can progress faster and make that happen. There's always, like I always say, there's the young mentality of reactive punishment and the old mentality of proactive acceptance. So we need more people with proactive acceptance. How can we work with our enemies and our allies to become stronger? And then before you know, it's funny because you look at fixing the economy, it was so simple. The last person who did it, you know who it was? It was Clinton. He did it 5 years straight. He did one thing. He cut defense spending by 10%. And that was it. That was his big claim to fame. And he was able to balance the budget just doing that. It doesn't take, you don't have to fire a bunch of people. You don't have to hurt all these other groups and all these, individuals to get what you want. He just cut spending for military by 10%. And that was the basis of everything.
I think there's just so much personal intent right now that's going on for personal gain that we can't even get to that point right now where with a simple fix for everybody,
right?
Whether it's for the economy or equality or with everything. I really feel like there's a lot of selfish personal intentions going on and for personal gain. And how do we acknowledge that and then fix all of the destruction that has happened because of that?
Right.
But it's odd that what their claim is that they want to make America great again.
Right.
When in actuality they're destroying it.
Right.
I have a granddaughter who is trans. I have many members of my family who are gay and lesbian, and many friends who are gay and lesbian. I am an ally for sure, and I have a concern for the well-being of these people as well as women who are getting denigrated and moved into second-class citizenship, and anyone who is a person of color.
Right.
So then how does that work?
I know. And
how does that make America great again? How are you threatened by these folks?
Exactly.
Right.
It's ignorance and shame that they put upon these people. And in reality, it's a very, very, very simple answer. As our souls move, like I said in the beginning, we come here to learn unconditional love. You cannot learn unconditional love in one gender. You may spend 10, 15, 20 times as one gender, and that gender will have a resonance within your soul. When you switch to the other gender, that resonance is still there. So you're going to have some of the characteristics or mentality or attributes of the other gender you had just been many times in a row. Just because you're in a different body now, a different gender, doesn't mean that gender now dictates who you are. Mm-hmm. The soul dictates to the vessel. The vessel never dictates to the soul. So as you move from gender to gender, you will have some of the attributes of the other gender with you. Now, it may take 2, 3 more incarnations in that new gender before it actually climatizes to it and actually is accepting of it. So it just takes time. So one of the things I like to do on the show is where they will go. Ron DeSantis, because soul will choose to go where it's overly scrutinized in the past so it can learn through firsthand knowledge of the pain and suffering it had previously dismissed. So Ron DeSantis, prime example, where he should go, he should change gender next time so his soul will learn. So he'll still, I'm sure he's a man, he's married, I'm sure he likes women. When he comes back as a woman, he'll still gonna like women. And that's just the way it works. So he's a prime example. He's caused a lot of pain for the LGBTQ community, and he needs to go there. As soon as this next incarnation, he needs to go there. Because if he stays as a man, it'll just get worse. Mm-hmm. And he'll get farther and farther and farther away from the alignment of God, which is love. He'll get more judgmental and more accusatory and more this and more that. The sooner he makes that change to the other gender and becomes lesbian, then the sooner then he can start correcting his soul and learning it.
Yeah. One of the things that gets bantied about in my household a lot is taking back the narrative.
Yes.
We have to find a way to take back the narrative.
Mm-hmm.
So a podcast like this or channel is one way to do it, educating people about it. But we have to actively work to try and take back the narrative and change it so that people understand exactly what you voted for and what we can do to change it. Right.
And that takes a proactive stance.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, the way our souls are progress, the way our souls progress. So you have Trump that tried to overthrow the government on January 6th, but I saw no F Trump flags, not one, right? An older soul innately knows not to put negativity out because that negativity will show up on your past life review, and whoever sees that F Trump flag will cause disharmony. And old souls won't cause disharmony. Young souls, right, they had FJB all over the place, right? They didn't know the repercussions of that. So every person that saw FJB and was a Democrat or liberal or progressive felt hate or anger, right? When they saw that, or how could they? He's done nothing. He didn't try to overthrow the government, right? They're going to feel that. Now, right now, they're like, their ego's like, good, right? But and then their ego's also going to say, yeah, but 40 or 50% of the people that saw it loved it. Mutual hatred is not love. So it's a double negative. Not only did you cause fear or hatred and judgment with those people that saw that, you also created more hatred in the people that liked it, right? And felt that mutual hatred grow within them. So it's a double negative. So an old soul isn't proactive like that. The young souls can just yell out names and call people this and this group that and Sleepy Joe, right, and all that stuff, and not think twice about it. An old soul can't do it. An old soul does not have that ability to be, shock, to shock people, right? So we have to find somebody that's strong, that's very strong, outspoken, gets to the points, and doesn't fight their fight, fights their own fight. Right. And I know of one. I've already seen her be the next president. So you know who that is? It's AOC. Ooh. AOC. I saw that a long time ago.
I like that.
I like that.
See how
too.
that feels in your body, right?
I know.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I had a dream that I meet her. So we'll just leave it at that. But she's the only one with that fire and cannot be swayed to stay on task. that I see. Most of the progressives and liberals are meek, right? Meek inherit the earth. The older the soul, the older we become, meek inherits the earth, right? So
I'm not meek.
I understand that. I understand that. But to have that fire and to stay on topic and to have that gravitas that she has, it's hard to find in somebody that's an older soul.
Right.
You know, we don't see Buddhists out there, getting crazy. You know what I'm saying?
Promoting hate.
Promoting hate.
They're living within their selves and being in that vibration of peace.
Love.
I always
Right.
like to think of in terms of energy and vibration, and we talk about that God is the energy and vibration of love here on this side of the veil and back home in heaven,
Right.
wherever. You are a manifestation of God. We all are. We talk about that. So, when we see things that we don't like or are just in our opinion, outright wrong or horrible or disgraceful, are we going to add to that vibration and that energy by F this and F that?
Right.
We want to sometimes, but then as that progressive soul, we have to maintain our vibration or maintain our energy. And yes, we can still rise up and make change and progress. But again, are we going to lower ourselves? And again, I go back to that 2-year-old. Am I going to have a tantrum with the 2-year-old? Oh, now we're both screaming and hollering.
But see, that's what I saw Kamala Harris try to do, to have a positive campaign and not go negative like it would have been really easy to do.
Right.
Same with Clinton. We'll go high, they'll go low, right? They'll go low, we'll go high. And the thing is when people get enough of the low, so sick of the low, they'll start to rethink. And that's the thing is when people realize that the things the progressives and liberals want are in alignment with God. When AOC is out there fighting for the workers, every single one of those workers is a manifestation of God. The corporation that's trying to take advantage of them is not. No corporation is a manifestation of God. They're manifestations of man. Who do you align with? That's the real question. Now, I understand you can't put a company out of business, but when you see huge amounts of profits and they're not giving it to the workers and they're actually taking from the workers, which happens a lot. I've worked for companies like that. Then you have to say, wait a second, we have to start working for the people. Because when those people are suffering, God suffers. God feels us at all times. Those people have plenty and have bounty, then God has bounty. It's not. We're not here to serve the corporations. The corporations are here to serve humanity. That's what they're here for.
Yeah, I have one of my protest signs starts with "We the People," and the bottom part is interchangeable. You can put whatever you like, but we think that we the people really do need to rise up and do what we can to take back our country and make positive change for the betterment of all of us, which is one of the reasons we're progressive, and trying to do what we can to instrument that change. It's been difficult. The Republicans have had 50 years since Lewis Powell put out the Powell memo, where they told us, here's our game plan. And they've been, steadily following their game plan till they could pick the low-hanging fruit, which is where we are now. But it's disconcerting, which is also has led to the Supreme Court decision of Citizens United, where they basically said money is free speech. So spend as much money as you want because that's your free speech. And now we have the richest man in the world financing these campaigns and the takeover of our government, which, frankly, I think is abhorrent.
Right.
And again, it's hard to fight other than knowing that collectively together we can.
Right. Right. The whole reason why Rome fell, corruption. Rome fell. I mean, it lasted for thousands of years, and it fell because of corruption. It wasn't serving the people anymore. It was just serving the rich. And when that happens, dynasties fall. So we have to look at ourselves and say, well, this is for the people, of the people. And we have to get back to that seriously.
Yeah, we are the government, and people don't understand that.
Right.
The government is for us, it's by us, it is us.
Right.
And we do need to take it back.
I think that there's a lot of people on the other side that believe that there's so much corruption in the government. And so they believe in their mind and evidently in their heart that what they are doing is right because they believe that they are restoring balance, just like we were saying that the pendulum will swing this way. And so they believe that they are tipping the scale and pushing that pendulum this way to restore order and balance.
Right.
I can't figure out and I can't get on board with how creating more division, more hatred, more poverty, more all of this, how that's going to create a balance. I'm not sure of that. Maybe I am naive to this corruption in the government. I don't claim to know any of that. I'm very naive when it comes to that.
But there's a systematic way of approaching that.
Yes.
It wouldn't involve wholesale firing of departments and getting rid of, like the Department of Education. Many of the progressive members of my club are teachers. We were started and founded by teachers because they care about the kids that they teach and everyone else. They really need to get loud and do more.
I think the reason why the people on the right think that things are finally getting better is because things have been spun. They look.
That's the narrative.
That's the narrative, right? Right. They see a policy, and the right wingers will just take this part and this part and say, "See, it's bad for America," right? Even if it's not, they'll make it look like it is, not showing the other parts of the policy. So. There's one policy, like I always talk to people, and the bad thing is the right only watches news from the right. As long as they're all saying the same thing and they're all united, they never have to get out of that bubble.
No, because it matches what is inside that little box or that bubble.
The right younger souls do not look for knowledge; they look for self-righteousness. That's the difference. What's going to tell me to make me more right than I was yesterday? Right. Instead of, wait a second, let's look outside the box. Now, if you an older soul will say, there's that saying by Mark Twain, it's easier to lie to a person than it is to prove to them that they were lied to. Something along that line.
Something along the lines of that, right? I understand.
Only to a point. A young soul will say, no, I wasn't lied to. This is the way it is. An older soul will say, show me. And that's the difference. An older soul will say, show me. I'll watch Fox News, and I'll go ahead and I'll check it out to see if that story is true. And I'm like, wait, they left out this fact, and this fact. Right. So whenever I'm doing rideshare and a Republican gets in my car and they'll start right off, man. They're high up on that hate. And they'll start slamming liberals and this, and then I'll tell them the other side of the facts. And they're like, I didn't know that. Of course you didn't know that. Because you didn't look. You didn't seek it out. So they're basing their opinions on limited facts because they're not doing their due diligence to really find out what is what. Right. Right. And they'll say, where'd you get your information? The View? I'm like, no, The View is not a news agency. No. I got it from every other news agency except Fox News. Right. There's this whole idea that, it makes sense only if you don't think about it. And I want to really think about that for a second because they're not thinking about the idea and they're not thinking about all of the ramifications of their actions and and these policies that are being put into place. But when you actually sit down and think about it, that no longer makes sense because we believe that it's for the good of the all, altruism. And if it's not in the good of everybody, then that doesn't make sense. How is that going to make anything better if we're cutting people out? Then that's not that law of it's not balanced anymore. Right. And the thing is the right has set up a system to where it's okay to hurt these people if it's pro-cross or if it's pro-flag. Right? Or if it's pro-Trump or if it's pro-Republican. It's okay to hurt those people. And when they realize when they get back home, those flags don't exist. Right. We're not our country. We're not our gender. Right. All these people that are getting punished for just existing, for not being in alignment with what they think is right and wrong, it's not going to help anybody. When you get back home, you're going to see those souls. You're going to see those people and what they had to go through because you chose a flag over humanity. You chose a flag over love. How about choosing Trump over your own parents? Yes. My son has basically cut us out of his life. I had a knee replacement about a year ago. And before it, because he had said, Mom, anytime you're going to have any major surgery, call me, let me know. I want to know. So I called, I told him.
And he's like, yeah, that's really sad, Mom. I hope you make it. And didn't care to come and visit. Major surgery, anything can happen.
Because of your political...
Yes, because of politics, because he is a Trump supporter and MAGA. And they don't call. They don't text. Nothing. They have basically cut us out as if we don't have a son anymore.
Yeah. And this isn't the first time we've heard this.
Right.
We see this all
It's
the time.
heartbreaking. I can tell you.
I'm
It's
so
broken
sorry
my heart.
that you're on that side of that.
And I've had the similar situation, but the reverse. So, and my mom was liberal, but her family was not. My dad was liberal, but his family was not. So when they both passed, I shielded myself. I changed my phone number and moved. And I'm done. So I didn't do it out of hate. I did it out of self-love. And I'm like, I can't. They're trolls. They're literally trolls online. I'm like, I can't see that. You're hurting people. You don't realize it. Even if you think you're right, do not hurt another human being. Right. Especially, and people have to realize this, when with your past life review, you feel how you treated others. So if I'm mean to Brandi, I'll feel that. If I'm loving to Brandi, I'll feel that. When you put something hateful online and 10,000 people feel that hate, you feel all of it. So in this megaphone world that we live in, people don't realize the devastation they're causing themselves. Everything, because we're all connected. So even if somebody in Peoria reads that text that you sent or that, tweet or whatever, right? They're gonna, and they feel that hate and they feel ashamed and they feel guilt and they feel horrible feelings. You're gonna feel that, and it's gonna last as long as that is up. As long as that's up, they're gonna feel it. We just did a video right now about Elon. There was a lot of people that were on Twitter and they were removed for hate speech. He personally green-lit all those people back in. His intent caused it. He gets to feel all the hate that those 500 people, we'll say it's 500 people, put out because his intent created it. So God knows all intent. All those 500 people will be his, and whatever they put out, whatever shaming or hate or violence they create will be his, and he will feel it all. He does not realize that. Because all intent is known. When you have a lot of power and money, it's very important to watch your P's and Q's and not to put people out. You want to fight for people? Cool, but don't attack people. AOC fights for people. There's a difference.
Right.
Yep.
Right. If you can't help somebody, then at least don't hurt them.
Right. Don't hurt them.
And there's a lot of hurt and a lot of pain going on.
And myself and others, we are all concerned about what I'm going to term an ongoing coup that's being perpetrated by Musk, Trump, and Vance right now. And I'll throw Johnson in there just for giggles.
Oh yeah.
And the band of unvetted technical computer. What do they call them? The tech bros.
Tech bros. Yeah.
They've currently been given permission to go into our Social Security, our Medicare offices, the VA, the IRS, where we have our personal sensitive banking, even information.
Right.
They have access to all of that right now.
Right.
There are those of us who are not living in fear, but we are fearful that what will they do with that? They're going to download it and hold it as ransom,
right?
And everybody in America, hey, if you want to have a life and money,
right? And one of the things,
don't make us sell this.
And one of the things that conservatives live in is pretty much constant fear of big government. Oh my God,
they fell in it. They've created it.
They've created this. They're going to be just as much of it because when these people in power have our Social Security number, they don't know who's right and left. They're just going to start that. If that information leaks,
they will. There's voter databases.
There is voter databases.
They can figure it out.
But I don't think they care one way or the other. Anybody who stands in their way. And Musk has already shown that if you aren't pro-Musk, he will sue you into oblivion.
Right.
And people have to be – conservatives aren't going to like that. They don't want big money. They don't want government knowing where they're at and what they're doing and how much money they'll be owed and all this stuff. And I think it's going to cause a big ripple effect for the conservatives, especially me. okay, I may have things may come out, whatever, but and at the end of the day, did I learn love when I was here? Yes, and I'll end up back home someday. And I have that solace knowing I will be enveloped in God's love again one day. So,
well, then for me, for the immediate here and now, my hope is that as the economics of it and the reality of it hit our more conservative people, that they'll wake up.
Yes.
God will remove the scales from their eyes. They'll wake up and figure out exactly what's being done and perpetrated to them in their name.
Right.
And will join us.
And they'll stop being anti-woke and actually start waking up.
Yes.
Yes, I know. That'd be nice. That'd be great.
I that's my hope and my fervent prayer.
Right. And people don't realize is that God's a living thing. And the vibration of God changes with certain paradigms. We started a new paradigm in December 21st, 2012. We started a new paradigm. A new cycle started. That new cycle has a higher vibration than the other paradigm and the paradigm before that. As people, older souls will start awakening to this higher vibration a lot sooner than younger souls will. Younger souls will keep fighting it. And older souls will gravitate right towards it. Eventually the younger souls will, but it may be it may be a decade or 2 or 3 before they actually do. This might be the wheel that starts everything going, is having the Republicans have so much control over every aspect of their lives that they'll be saying, okay, wait, I've had enough of this. Right.
For me, from a spiritual standpoint, from a human standpoint, it's very challenging, the state of everything right now. And it's easy to, at times, get underneath that and feel like, okay, there's so much up here. It feels like there's just this wave, and what am I to do? What can I as a single individual do? And so from my spiritual standpoint, going into my higher mind, I do my best to believe that good always wins in the end, no matter what. And that, there's this story playing out, there's this big picture, and unfortunately, we're only seeing through a little part. And I have to know that the rest of that story or the rest of that picture that is revealing itself and unfolding as we go through the process of this, I have to believe that it's good. I have to believe that, we're just looking at a little frame and it's ugly and it's not pretty, right. And sometimes things get messy before they get cleaned up. Like we're cleaning out a closet. Mm-hmm. We're pulling out all that stuff that we forgot was in all those boxes and things that needed to be, racism that was in the back. It still has existed all this time. But now we are getting, unfortunately, a front row seat to what's in that closet of society, of our country.
They have empowered them to come out of the closet and speak to their racism publicly.
Right.
Right. And that's another thing is oh my gosh, these people that are doing that. Poetic justice exists on the other side of the veil. So like I've said before, a soul will go where it's overly scrutinized in the past so it can learn through firsthand knowledge of the pain it had previously dismissed. So every person that is part of a white supremacist group isn't going to stay white supremacist. They're going to move to other ethnicities. They just haven't been there yet. And their ego's going to say, no way would I ever come back African American. And realistically, you may not come back African American. You may come back African. How's that? You know what I'm saying? So, but when you go back home, there's no ego to justify your actions. When you had hatred towards another human that was African American, and you see them back home, and they're a being of light, and you're a being of light, you're like, oh, I had hatred towards you. Without your shell on, I didn't know it was you. You're actually my friend.
Yeah, we are one and the same.
Right. They will ask to come back as the other ethnicity so they can learn. Because if they stayed white, their racism would get worse. And again, worse and worse and worse and worse. They eventually have to make the transformation over to the other ethnicity that they had overly scrutinized the most. Now, if they're African American and Hispanic and Asian, LGBT,
a woman.
Right.
Yeah, they might be LGBT African American. There you go. You know what I'm saying? So that's how it works. We come here to learn. We don't come here to judge. We come here to overcome judgment itself. That's what the basis of the show is. Overcome judgment, one soul at a time.
I like it.
Thank you.
Is there anything that either one of you feel that you really want to get out on camera in this episode that you really want to end? Because I feel like we're kind of coming down to the end, you know?
Yes, I do.
In a few minutes. So like think about like some closing remarks or something that you really wanted to talk about that you didn't get to share yet, something like that, and we'll bring that in.
Gosh, I wish I could
pinpoint
because we kind of covered a lot.
Yeah,
Let's do one question.
did.
Let's do one question. Let's do like an easy one, simple one. And then we'll go from there.
Well, the easy one is they're violating our Constitution and ignoring court orders and violating our rule of law.
Then we go back to all those people that are doing it and going to get judged.
Yeah.
We'll be
Is that okay?
holding the bag.
Because the question is, how can people not recognize this and exercise our rights for free speech and protest against this regime every single day? I don't understand how people don't, other than what you just said.
Right.
The status of their soul.
Status of their soul and programming.
And the narrative.
So
the narrative is like a big one at my house.
Yeah.
My husband's like constantly, it's like, I'm going to bring out the dead horse I keep beating. The narrative. He's had the narrative as his prime focus for many, many, many years now. And tried to actively change that.
Yeah, and that's what it is. It's the narrative. They won't go outside of the narrative because it might show that they're wrong. It had an error in their thought processes, and the ego, a younger soul, isn't led by soul. The younger soul doesn't have the tools to overcome the ego. So it's led by ego. When you have a soul that's led by ego, it cannot be wrong ever. So it can't. So that's why the narrative sticks for young souls. While older souls, you have 5th graders, 7th graders, 10th graders on varying degrees of liberal and progressive ideas. The young souls are all right here. They're led by ego hardcore. While the older souls are 50-50, and then you have the oldest souls that are like more like 90-10. These younger souls, it's, 90-10 the opposite way. It's ego and not soul. So when they hear hate and division, they applaud it. And then they're only given half of the facts. It just keeps them in a cycle. And they don't want to go out of it. A young soul, like I said, a young soul will say, okay, show me what Fox News has. Let's fact check it. Okay, it was erroneous. Got it. A young soul's like, I don't even want to go out there. I don't want to go there because that means my ego is wrong. And they can't do that. So when you're led by ego, you're very controllable. And you're looking for judgment, not compassion. You're looking to put up walls and not bring walls down. You're looking to punish our allies and align with dictators. I think, what was that? That was Darth Vader. Who was that? Anakin Skywalker. Because why can't we just have one guy that just makes all the decisions for everybody? And look who it turned out to be, So that's the mentality. That's the mentality of democracy over of a dictator over a democracy. It's who you are determines that. The age of the soul will determine where you align and what you want and what you feel is right in this world and for yourself.
And that moves me to my point for my next question and moving into our final thoughts. How do we move forward from here? What do we do with this knowledge, this understanding, this information that has been presented here today?
I truly think that it's real simple. There are more old souls in the younger generations than there are young souls. If you do the breakdown of millennials, only 21% identify with the conservative movement. Gen Z, it's only 19%. So as we bring education and understanding, because you look at the Bible, it's faith-based. You just have to trust what it says. With these understandings that I bring out, I can explain why. When you give the why, you can adhere to it better. If we explain this to younger generations, they'll be there. They'll be the lighthouses that keep this from happening again. Truly.
Yeah. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
The young people will save us.
They will. Yes.
Do you have any final thoughts or anything that you'd like to share today, Patrice? It's been such a pleasure to have you
Yes,
here
it has.
on our show, and thank you for these great questions. And I know that this has been a challenging topic, you know?
Well, again, my concern is that the people that are following and listening to Musk and Trump and Vance, and now Musk's agency, the Doge, or Doji that I like to call it, they're continuously violating our Constitution, our rule of law, our very human rights. And I really want people to recognize that that's exactly what they're doing, and take an action to make a change. Find your voice. Join High Desert Progressive Democrats.
Yes.
And help us make a real, true difference going forward to get back to true democracy.
To democracy. Exactly. That's what we're here for. That's the experiment, and we're trying to keep that experiment going.
Well, Lord of the Flies is over, and it's time for the adults to show up. So I'm so grateful that we had this conversation today. Thank you so much for viewing this episode, and we look forward to, continuing this story and this conversation on the next episode. So thank you guys both, and be well.
Thank you.
Thank you.